Guys, welcome to Black Scout Survival Late Night Live. So they are not whispering it anymore. Okay. They're not hiding it. They're saying it out loud. When you have the Prime Minister of Canada using the words New World Order on camera and then calmly explains defense alignment, trade restructuring, and rework global system, you're not watching a gaffe. You are watching a declaration. And that's what this video is about. It's about the serious things that are coming right before you. And they're saying out loud. This is not partisan BS. This is what's happening, unfolding. This is about what a system does when it's replacing the old one, and why Greenland, Canada, and man, even the Nobel Peace Prize are suddenly part of the same sentence, right? Let's start off with the most important detail, because it's the one everyone's trying to downplay. Mark Carney didn't say global cooperation. He didn't say multilateral reform. He didn't say updated trade frameworks. He said New World Order. Check it out.
Mine is the first visit of a Canadian Prime Minister to China in nearly a decade. The world has changed much since that last visit. And I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Pretty serious stuff. He then goes on and explains what he meant, not spiritually, not metaphorically, structurally. Listen to him.
Yesterday, when you met with Premier Lee, one of the things you said in the public remarks was this partnership with Canada and China, this new partnership, sets us up well for the new world order. What did you mean by that? What is the new world order?
Well, it's a great question, Brian, because I think the world is still determining what that order is going to be. And let's be clear what we're talking about first and
We ain't figured it out yet. We're just going to do it.
foremost, which is what are the trading, what is going to govern global trade? What is the role of the WTO?
So listen to what a man says. Global trade, number one. When we're talking about trade, if you're a believer of the Bible and you look at essentially the mark of the beast being the fiscal system, the replacement of the old ways.
Going to be? How important are bilateral deals such as the one we're developing, plurilateral deals, if I can use that term, Trans-Pacific Partnership, the potential linkages between Trans-Pacific Partnership and the EU? Where is financial regulation, payment system regulation going to fit into that?
Payment system regulation.
All of these aspects.
So also moving away from the American dollar.
I mean, use fancy word like
Yesterday, when you met with
the architecture, the multilateral system that has been developing these is being eroded, to use a polite term, undercut, use another term. So the question is, what gets built in that place? How much of a patchwork is it? How much is it just on a bilateral basis? Or where do like-minded countries in certain areas? So like-minded countries, just to be clear, doesn't mean you agree on everything. Aspects, for example, on digital trade or agricultural trade.
Digital trade, digital currency.
Climate finance as another area. To move into areas of geostrategy, geosecurity.
See, he didn't want to say that. He was trying to figure out a way to say that. We're going to discuss it.
You will have different coalitions that are formed. So what this partnership does is in areas, for example, of clean energy, conventional energy, agriculture, as we were talking about, and financial services, which we've talked less about, but the evolution of the global financial system, the role of the renminbi over time. The evolution of cross-border payments. I know it all sounds very dry, except for your organization, which I think takes an interest in it.
NWO doesn't sound dry to me. So structurally, defense realignment. That's what he wanted to say. That's the kind of what he was dancing around. Trade decoupling. New global rules. Reduce dependence on U.S. leadership. and a reworked international financial system. That's not rhetoric. That is architecture. And when leaders start talking about systems, not policies, it means the old one is being retired. And again, if you hear what he's saying, the man's saying is scary. Where people get lost is they get lost on the red versus blue thing. That's essentially what you have to kind of ease back from. You know, a lot of people blame Trump for this. A lot of people blame the tariffs for this. Maybe Trump's personality. But this is about to end the post-World War II financial order. Okay, so the Bretton Woods system, basically the dollar-centric world, the rules that made the U.S. the gravitational center of trade, institutions like the World Trade Organization were built to maintain that order. So what Carney is essentially describing, without saying it outright, is that a world where trade blocs replace global rules, regional power centers override Washington, D.C., financial leverage is fragmented, and loyal to the U.S. becomes optional, because really right now it's kind of not optional for a lot of countries. They're trying to make it where the U.S. is not really that important. And we know that as part of the World Economic Forum. I've talked about this for years, and I've played clips where the WEF would say that by 2030, which we're on track for that, obviously look at what's happening right here, to remove the U.S. as the global leader. So the thing is, it gets down to there's a lot of different forces working to make this thing happen. You have China, Russia, so on. They're all working, as well as Israel. They're all working to remove the U.S. from the superpower. See, since the Bretton Woods Agreement, we've kind of been the central position of this. But once you have Carney going to Beijing and essentially making friends, not really a great thing for us, okay, as Americans, right? But once you understand this is not about left versus right or any of that this is about removing the U.S. from the leadership and divorcing from the dollar. Once you understand that, everything else fits into place, okay? Now, Greenland has been a joke lately. A lot of people are making memes about it and so on. Now, this is where people really start laughing instead of listening. Greenland isn't just some ice block and polar bears, okay? It's Arctic shipping lanes, missile defense positioning, early warning radar, undersea cable control, northern access to North America. Greenland is the front door, right? And you know, they've really kind of distorted this thing, and maybe it's the Trump administration talking about we're going to take it by military force if possible. The thing is, Russia's not laughing about that. China's not laughing about that, and NATO damn sure ain't laughing about it. Even Carney, when asked, he said Canada would protect Greenland, meaning go to war with the U.S. So did China, right? Most of them reacted immediately because they understand what it means if the U.S. locks down the Arctic. It's why Russia openly warned that Greenland becoming a U.S. platform would be the beginning of the end of the world. It's not hyperbole, okay? That is deterrence language. I know he beats his chest a lot, but that's pretty doggone serious. But the part many people don't say out loud is, or they don't want to say out loud, is that if we lose Canada strategically, America becomes vulnerable in a way it's really never seen before. Canada isn't just a neighbor, it's a buffer, it's a shield, it's the northern wall. For over 100 years, America's greatest strategic advantage was that our northern border was friendly, aligned, and predictable. Now Canada is openly reframing China as the predictable partner. He said that during the speech he's talking about. He said they were predictable, that the Trump administration is not. They're talking about hedging away from the U.S., talking about multipolar alignment, using New World Order language. That's not liberal ideology. That is strategic repositioning. And yeah, Canada is politically infested with globalist liberals, but this move isn't about culture. It's about survival in a collapsing system. Again, a lot of targets on our back. The uncomfortable truth is that if the U.S. loses influence over Greenland and Canada drifts into Chinese alignment, you will eventually see Chinese military logistics in the Arctic. You'll see it. You'll see it probably in Canada. They'll have bases. Okay. Russian missile platforms closer to North America because Russia and China are best amigos. Surveillance asset pointing south. Shipping choke points outside U.S. control. Missiles at the front door isn't fear porn, man. It's geography. Go look at a map. Great powers don't need permission when the system breaks. They just need to position in a place that benefits them. Again, it's serious business. A lot of people are really not looking at this and really taking it not that serious. This is very serious. You have the CBDC talks and so on. You have all that. And if we go back to Klaus Schwab, talk about this real quick. He's saying in a new world system, we must accept transparency. And I'll even say total transparency. Everything is going to be transparent. And you have to get used to it. You have to behave accordingly. It should become, how should I put it, integrated into your personality. But if you have nothing to hide, this same thing, same language from Patriot Act, if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be afraid. He's talking about in this new world order, that's what this speech was about, that there will be total transparency. What is being ushered in before our eyes? A lot of people are kind of blind to it. The ICE and Palantir scheme working now. Do you think it's really about immigrants? Nah. You have ICE asking natural born that look like Americans for their papers. And Kristi Noem, when asked today, she said, yeah, I don't care if you're born here, you're white as can be, you better be carrying a proof of citizenship. They always usher in the same thing as the Patriot Act. And patriots are cheering it on because they say, well, I'm not a legal immigrant. Doesn't bother me. Same thing. Patriots love to give the freedom whenever it's their team doing it. So Klaus Schwab is even saying it there. Palantir's locked in everywhere. Everywhere. When Trump was asked today about whether or not or his thoughts on Canada, listen to what he says.
Mr. President, Prime Minister Carney is in China. Prime Minister Carney is in China. How do you see the deals Canada and China have just signed, trade deals between the two partners?
Well, that's okay. That's what he should be doing. I mean, it's a good thing for him to sign a trade deal. If you can get a deal with China, you should do that.
We have a patriot here, so how are the invaders to be expelled? Fairy dust? No, man, give up your freedoms, constitutional rights. It's the patriotic thing to do. If you're not afraid, right? Just like I promise you, the patriots will be the ones that give up the firearms. They will. There will be some reason that the patriots will want to give up their firearms. Thanks, brother. They sure will. They'll do it. But if we go back, though, you know, people laughed about Trump buying Greenland. I'm not laughing about it because it'll be taxpayer dollars. Talking about giving every citizen there 10,000 to the upwards of 100,000. That'd be great for an American to getting that back, or just maybe stop paying taxes. All this tariff money, we shouldn't just pay taxes, right? But anyway, they laughed in 1917 too. You may not know this. That was the last time Denmark sold territory to the United States. The Danish West Indies was actually sold to the U.S. It was framed as a boring real estate deal. Right. A century later, believe it or not, one of those islands became Epstein Island. No, that doesn't mean that Greenland equals Epstein, but what it means is geopolitical decisions echo forward in ways that no one predicts. History doesn't warn you with lightning bolts. It whispers and then detonates a decade later. And we see the Epstein culmination now. Now, This was odd. You know, Donald Trump's been really bent up about the Nobel Peace Prize. He even had Machado basically told her that she wouldn't be president of Venezuela because he didn't give, she didn't tell them that she didn't want it and that Donald Trump deserved it. Okay, that was the message. She showed up in Washington, gave her Peace Prize to Donald Trump. Okay, so now this is funny. This is funny. Donald Trump, considering your country's talking to Denmark, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely in peace. And what he's talking about is invading Greenland. Okay. And here's the actual letter here. He said, Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I'm no longer an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China, and why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There's no written documents. It's only that boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. I've done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, Donald J. Trump. Now, I don't disagree with the man that we have done more for NATO than anybody. We give them the most money, right? Absolutely. But now, let me tell you the quiet part carefully. Revelation doesn't describe like a single moment. It describes convergence, unified systems, centralized trade, controlled movement, economic compliance, power blocks replacing nations. It doesn't mean that tomorrow is the apocalypse. It means we are entering the phase where the architecture described is becoming possible. So what you're seeing in real time, and I thought we'd never see this in our life, to be honest, but in real time, what you're seeing is the stage is being set for this. That's why this feels spiritual. That's why people get that feeling in their gut. And that's why the language has shifted. You're hearing New World Order thrown around like it's nothing, because systems shape souls. Now, this isn't about fear, but it's about clarity. The New World Order isn't coming. It's being announced. Canada's choosing, Greenland is on the hinge, and Russia and China are watching. The U.S. is being tested. If you can see now, more than the last administration with of Donald Trump, the 2016, the Biden administration, what you see now is a lot of provoking statements that you didn't see before. You can state that. You can see it. There is a resistance to the current America from outside forces that we've never seen before. Or if we have, it was not during our adult lifetime where we paid attention, right? History will not remember who tweeted the loudest, who posted the best meme. It will remember who understood the pattern early. That's why it's important to pay attention. And again, you got to stay sharp, stay grounded, and stop letting people tell you this is just politics, because it isn't. Once you remove yourself from the left-right paradigm and start seeing things clearly, stop pulling for my team just because. I saw somebody post that, if you're not following me on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram. You're wrong. Well, if you don't have an Instagram account, don't worry about it. But if you do have an Instagram, go follow me right now. But anyway, I seen a guy, he said, man, all this talk about Vance, obviously being a Palantir puppet for Peter Thiel, who was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and then Donald Trump protecting the Epstein clients, his friends that are donors and so on. He's saying that we're going to lose the midterms. Dude, Donald Trump did that all on himself. This Trump administration did it all by himself. Pam Bondi said she wouldn't prosecute Fauci. Nothing happens to any of these people that we were promised that there were, if I had been, someone tried to assassinate me multiple times, indicted, felonies, trust me, it would be scorched earth. It'd be scorched earth. But what we see now is the system playing inside itself. Man, someone's saying here it was Epstein a spy. It wasn't Epstein a CIA spy. It could have been Mossad, more than likely. but more likely he was just a mid-level management. He was not the power player at all. He was a man, and I did a total briefing on this. He was a man who became a billionaire out of nowhere, didn't own any companies or anything, became a billionaire out of nowhere, and all of a sudden had connections to very elite people like Peter Thiel, people like Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and so on. So the fact remains is that he was set up to do this operation, and that's what he did. He was just a pawn, I believe. I don't think he was the power player. How do you get billions of dollars, a private island, and so on? And you never really did anything there was not a wealth trajectory that you would see in, like, let's say Elon Musk, where you saw Elon Musk growing, or Jeff Bezos growing into wealth, or Steve Jobs, that they had a trajectory of wealth. It just didn't happen. One day you're poor, the next day you're a billionaire. So that's these things, But anyway, I think a lot of what's going on, if you're not paying attention, or if you're just paying attention to the headlines or the echo chambers, that's the other thing. You have to be careful to the echo chambers. A lot of people ask me, hey, did you watch so-and-so, or do you know so-and-so? This is the thing I do for you. I don't watch anybody. I don't get anybody's opinion other than my own, because when I film these videos, I want you to hear my just complete understanding of what I'm witnessing. Okay. I try to pull facts from everywhere, news from everywhere, but I don't watch anyone that forms a bias. I learned that years ago when I first started YouTube. Actually, there was a guy named Nut and Fancy. I think he still does YouTube. He was the head honcho in the game at that point in time. You guys might have watched him. Nut and Fancy, very cool guy. Anyway, he would do gun and knife reviews and so on. And what he said when he was asked, there was like, who is your favorite channel? He said, I don't watch anybody, not because I don't like them. He said, I just want to give you an unbiased take on things. And so he would make some he would maybe trash some knives or some guns that were very popular that he didn't know. He didn't know the room. He didn't read the room. He didn't know what was going on, but he gave his unbiased opinion. And when I saw that, I said, I'm going to do the same thing, so that way I can give my unbiased opinion. And that's why a lot of times I don't sound like the echo chamber. It's why I don't sound like everybody else, right? May say things that, that don't sound like you're on our team, because I'm looking at it through a unfiltered lens. I didn't hear anybody's opinion before I formed my own. And I do that not because I don't value other people's opinion or think they're smart people. It's just I do that because I think it's important. There's no other reason to watch me if I'm just going to echo what everybody else says. So that is the reasoning behind it, right? Anyway, guys, prophecies being revealed in real time, man. The stars are aligning. The stage is being set. 2030 is coming. That was 2030 was not something that they just hung out and had a few beers and talked over. This is something they were planning, man. 15-minute cities and so on, happening real time. I did a video years ago on, I think it's like 50 plus governors and mayors that are on the 15-minute city board. They're trying to make it happen within their city. Eric Adams was one of those guys. Obviously, he's not mayor anymore, but I'm sure Mom Donnie picked up where he left off, because that's what they want to do. Anyway, guys, it's the path forward. We know it's going to come. We just don't know when, but it's why you got to be prepared. And there's still a lot of people I see in the chat, man. They think that someone's coming to save them. They're not. No one's coming to save you. And hoping a politician, or thinking that you could even get into politics without billions of dollars and backing from foreign entities or military industrial complex is a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale. That's why you got to build your community, develop systems outside the norm. What do you think the market of the beast is? It's a fiscal system. It's a way to control. How do you control people? Money. Nobody's learned that yet. Money. That's why the beast will use the fiscal systems. It's why to figure out things like bartering, develop a team, a tribe of 12, like I always say. 12 people you can count on no matter what. You can call them in the middle of the night, no matter what, and you'll help each other, combine skill sets, and so on. Anyway, guys, I do appreciate you hanging out with me. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I want to know your thoughts on this, man. And our Canadian friends, if you're watching this, let me know what your thoughts on this as you're living in this junk real time. Guys, As always, we're going to stay frosty, stay strapped, and always stay dangerous. Black Scout out.
2, 3. 4, 2.